Welcome to the Sober Friends podcast, where we talk about sober topics we can fit anywhere into your sober journey. My name's Matt, and over there is Steve. Hey, Steve, welcome. What's shaking? I'd be even better if the button to play the music, I had moved the machine closer to me. Felt like I had every inch of my 36, 37-inch arms to get over there. I'm realizing I got to move the machine closer to me. Holy cow. Otherwise, I'm good. Here's what I'm thinking today. Came across this topic going through one of those PDFs of how do you plan a discussion meeting topic. And one of them was plan the action, not the result. Pretty common. It's a slogan that encourages focus entirely on the effort and steps taken to recover rather than worrying about the actual outcome, which is often beyond one's control. This spoke to me because at work, it's not always about just the action you take. It's what is the end result you're looking for, plan your action around that. This seems different. That's kind of a conflict with where my head kind of is, but I like it. This talks about managing the expectations, reduce anxiety, stay present in your recovery. So lots of good things here. And I figured out some pitfalls. Where does this hit you initially?
This is a familiar topic or thought to me. We have a friend, you know, Jimmy. He used to come to Monday night, still does. Army Jim. And he always says, plan the event, but not the outcome. That's his take on this, right? And his point, and it's really, really helped me. It really has. Like his statement, he's the one I remember saying that. Maybe other people, it's always one of those things. Maybe other people have said it. Jim is the one I associate it with in my life. Because he would tell me, plan the event, not the outcome. And it took me a while to sort of figure that out, right? And and then I finally realized, like, that is the way to handle this stuff. Like, you can put a lot of effort into this thing. And what you said there was manage expectations, right? If something that you're planning has to go a certain way for you to feel good about it or whatever, then it can go sideways really fast. So I've gotten very much that as long as I put my effort in today, at least I'll have some satisfaction that I did a good job, right? The second thing that hits me about it is that it also challenges me to put my effort in, right? Because I don't want to get up where I have a bad event and go, oh man, I had a bad event because I didn't take it seriously. I had a bad event because I didn't put time into it, you know? So it really has helped me a lot since I've sort of taken this on and started to realize what it means in my life and how I can use it and actually make it so that I'm not so anxious over things. So yeah, a lot of things to talk about. I've got some practical experience too, like within my life outside of my program, but that this has worked out really well for me.
You also just hit upon some pitfalls there, which I want to talk about. I had an experience this week where I was planning out a presentation. I also was a bit diffused and doing other things, but I was sure I had done enough of a dry run of this presentation, I would be fine. It also was a presentation where I didn't have a PowerPoint talk track. So I knew the things I'm doing. I'm talking through some stuff, but it was a little bit different. And it didn't go the way I would like. And I also had my boss chirping on the side in our Teams chat about, you need to do this, you need to do that, which totally threw me off. I also realized afterwards I was getting a migraine. And when I have a migraine, one of the symptoms can be I can't get the words out. Yeah. That it just, I freeze there. So there was a little bit of that. But there is a little bit of tension there that I put the effort in but I didn't get the result. Maybe I didn't put enough of the effort in. I don't know. I think there's something there around if you put the effort in, you don't have to worry about the end result because it's going to get there regardless. It should follow along.
Yeah, there's a couple ways that I put this to use. One is recently at our district meetings for AA, we do a tradition and a concept each month. Somebody speaks on them, and I take that commitment on a regular basis. Like I'll do it 2-3 times a year, probably. Take a different one, which is a lot considering there's 40, 50 people there. I shouldn't have to take. Most people don't want to do that kind of stuff. And when I take it, okay, I put time into it. Like I spend time researching it. Like it's supposed to be a 3-minute speech, a 3-minute talk, right? That's where they want to keep, just to keep the meeting moving. I may spend 3 hours on it, right? I may spend 3 hours. I literally get a script down. I put it together. I read through it and make myself familiar with it. Now, lately, I've been finding I go up there and I always feel rushed because I do try to hold to this 3 minutes because I can't stand it when people get up there and they talk for 7 minutes because they're not prepared. But I feel good that I've done some work on it, right? That's what I mean. I feel comfortable. I've done some work. After I walk over, like, I never got to that part because I don't read. I sort of just give a talk. I may glance down at my paper. I don't read word for word what I've written down. And like the last time I got through, like, I missed those last 3 pieces before I sat down. Not a big deal. But my point is I feel good. I don't feel like I'm walking up there unprepared. I see it happen all the time, right? People like, I'm going to talk about the third tradition. And they go up there and they literally read what the third tradition is. Maybe they say a couple words on it and then they sit down. Like they didn't do any work. They didn't look at the history. They didn't look at why it was like that. They didn't look at what was happening in the 1950s when they wrote these things, right? No history behind it. So I feel good about that. Regardless of how it comes out, right? Because I'm like, okay, I prepared. Now, if I have trouble with it, then I got to ask myself, why did I have trouble with it? Why am I missing stuff? So, and I could work on that, right? I can work on that. But like I said, I always feel like when I go up there, I'm not nervous. I feel like, hey, I've done my work. I've done my investigation. So, that's always a comfortable feeling to me is when I do that. And then I just, that's the other thing is when I do stuff, if I do all that prep work, I can just let the chips fall where they fall, right? Like I could let the outcome be the outcome. And then I can be and this is the whole point. That doesn't mean the outcome is going to be good. That doesn't mean the outcome is going to be what I want. It doesn't mean the outcome is going to be satisfying, right? But it'll allow me to handle that disappointment better if that's the case, right? Well, I did my part. I did everything I could do. Nothing else I can do on it, right? So it's really, again, it's become a really big part of my life when I have that as a forefront as I'm planning a project. It's like, remember, you can do a lot of work and you can still get a shitstorm at the end.
I used to forget I would volunteer for that and I'd never remember it until walking into the meeting of, oh crap, I got to talk about this.
You're right. Yeah.
And I'm pretty good at BSing that as I'm waiting, I can scan through and say, all right, I'll hit this, and this. Here is how it means to me. But I just would forget every single time. Yeah. And I needed to write it down. If I had that task now, and this would be part of my prep, I would probably, as I volunteer for it, put it into Claude and say, next month I have this presentation. I need 3 minutes. Can you help walk me through some points that would make sense? And I would have something that would be very usable. I'm like you. I'm not going to read a script, because it really looks like I'm reading a script when I do that, but I would want some bullet points and I can pull from that. And I can also go left and right based on how I'm feeling in the moment. So I'm really hearing in a lot of that, it's put the prep in, trust the prep. But now if it doesn't go right, there could be things out of your control.
Yeah.
And how do you accept that? I kind of want to hit first upon the after action review, that you may have put in the prep. You may have planned the action, not the result. The result is not what you wanted. Then what? Is it a case that you beat yourself up, which I did this week? But then I also looked at it and say, I can't undo the result. What did I learn from this?
Right.
And what I learned from this is some of these presentations where there's not a talk track, I got to write something out for me, not for the rest of the team, for me. And that will keep me on track. I did a little of that because I had a similar presentation and the team said I hit it out of the park.
I'm thinking as we're talking about this, like, okay, we're talking about life stuff and like, where does this fall in recovery stuff? And it just sort of hit me like, this is the perfect topic for 8th and 9th step work, right?
Okay.
This is the perfect topic for that, because you think about it, right? We go through an eighth step and we write down people we've harmed, and then we decide that we need to make amends to them. And if you're really doing a good job with this, you're making some plans, right? For a lot of these people, like you're planning your amends. You know what you want to talk about. It's like you're getting ready for a little speech, right? You are basically.
Yes.
You're getting ready for a speech, and you want to hit some points. Like, here are the points I want to hit. Here's what I want to make sure, and then you want to go through the stuff. Well, I want to make sure that if they start coming at me, I don't react. Like, you have to go through all of this planning up front. And then once you get there and you do that amends, you have no control on how it goes, right? You have no control. You have no control how that person is going to accept it, take it, whatever, whether it's going to be accepted, whether it's going to be good, whether it's going to be bad, whether you're going to feel good about it or not feel good about it when you get done. And then what you just talked about is doing that post evaluation of like, what did I do? Did I do something wrong? With my presentation? And then that's when we start talking about it. Were my motives wrong? What was I doing there? What was I trying to get out of it? So it's the perfect way to go through an 8th and 9th step process. And it's also the reason why I think, and most people would agree, that you should have a sponsor or somebody that you're sort of helping you guide you through these things, right? This is where you should have that. And before you do, especially any complicated amends, you should absolutely be running it by somebody saying, hey, here's what I got to do, and this was a sponsor for. Here's the amends I got to make. I'm going to make it to, in my case, say my ex-wife. Here's the things I want to talk about, and, some of those can be tricky. And then you can say, if you talk to somebody about it, they may say that sounds like a good plan, or maybe I stay away from this, or. But I've been lucky with my amends in that case, so I haven't had any go bad. I haven't had any go bad, but you do hear people where they go bad, and I think that's what I'm trying to express here is that it's really, really important that when you're doing your step work and you're doing that type of stuff, that it is the prep, it is the process, trust the process, right? And then do that process. And then you can come back when you're done. And again, you can reevaluate it. You can talk to your sponsor. Was it good? Was it bad? And then we learn from it, right? Like I said, when I was doing my stuff last time, I felt rushed, and I don't need to be rushed up there, right? If I take 5 minutes to do this thing where I'm supposed to do 3, everybody's still happy, right? They're happy with 5 minutes. They don't want 9 minutes, right? So I can take my time and not rush through it. And again, that makes me want to do it again so I can practice that part more, right? So that's the other thing is that, by me doing that, I can try to get better at that. And again, that brings me back to the 8th, 9th step. Like, I can do it. I can make some mistakes on doing some amends and then go, okay, I need to get better at that. I need to figure out some stuff. And so it's really, really important. Again, I'll come back to what you said, managing expectations, right?
Right.
It's the biggest thing we have to do probably in all aspects of our life. I don't do the saying out there that I won't get, but it's like expectations are resentments of the future or something like that, right? Having expectations. And it's the truth, right? We have expectations. And then if they don't meet whatever the event or person, place, or thing doesn't meet our expectation, then we end up disappointed and maybe a resentment somewhere down the road.
There's just so much there of what you said.
Yeah.
And everything hit there. And I feel like I have to, I want to take like part by part apart there because there's so many subtopics. One of the things, if I'm presenting at a district meeting on a concept, or what is it? They do the concepts, they do the tradition.
Right. Those two is what we do now.
Here's another reason why they limit it to 3 minutes, because it might be boring.
Mm-hmm.
You can do 9 minutes on that.
Oh, yeah.
And it could be if you've planned it out right, that could be a nice little TED talk. The problem is you're eating into other things that need to happen. But people don't like long speeches, not because they're long, but because they don't go anywhere. At a certain point, I try and, if I share at a meeting, I'm thinking in my head, what are the least amount of words I can use to get out what I'm looking for? Get in, get out, and keep it interesting. So there is that aspect. The doing an amend really hit me as well. When you're saying your amends didn't go badly, I think that has a lot to do with your preparation for it. You can't control every aspect. There might be some people who you legitimately are fearful of, and you put an extra prep just because of that, because you know that the possibility of this one going badly, or I maybe even say going badly means something damaging happens to me. Not necessarily that they react poorly, because you might have done something where them replying poorly is to be expected in a sense. So I have to prepare for that. I have to mentally prepare for the storm that's going to come, but I'm going to do the right thing. But I'm not going to hurt them. And maybe part of them responding badly is them getting it out. It's not even a bad result for them. Right. They're getting it out. And I'm kind of facilitating that. And once it's out, it's out. But this is really where the prep comes in, talking to a sponsor, talking to somebody else, of thinking they may vent at me. Okay, what do I need to do to get myself in the best frame of mind that even if that happens, I'm going to be okay? And I think it really does come back to the preparation leads you to the result you're looking for, or at least a result that you can be satisfied with. But those amends can go awfully bad if you're winging it. And I know that because I've listened to one meeting after another where somebody steps up and gives the warning because it happened to them.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes that pushback, that anger, whatever it might be, when you're doing those, is an appropriate response.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, if you've hurt someone and you've never discussed it and you've ignored it for 10 years or whatever it might be, mm-hmm. Yeah, by bringing that up, it might be painful and, the pushback could be appropriate for them. And you do have to be prepared for that. And that's where I go back to, again, one of the things I was very much coached by my sponsor was motive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Motive, when I went into my amends, I wasn't looking for absolution, right? I wasn't looking for anybody to forgive me. I wasn't. I was looking to, I was looking to acknowledge my errors and the hurt that I've caused these people, whatever it might be, and then take responsibility for that. That is it. I mean it. Like if these people wanted to forgive me, that was up to them, right? Forgiveness Absolutely. Is on their part, right? It's up to them. Plus, forgiveness is for them, not for me. So really having an understanding of what you're doing is so helpful in those situations, because I was able to walk out of there and go, hey, I did a good job with that. That's it. I did a good job. I had an amends to make, and the biggest amends I made was to my ex-wife, right? I mean
mm-hmm.
that, and that was a tough one.
That must be a hard one.
It was a hard one. It was a hard one because, she still is a very good woman. And unfortunately she caught me at the tail end. We had great aspects of our relationship, but when I slid down into my alcoholism, all bets were off, right? All bets were off, and I wasn't a good person, and she deserves so much better than that. And it took me a while. I mean, I had to come to terms with a lot of things. And that goes back to doing all the steps that I had to come to terms with some of the things of who I was as a person during then. I had to acknowledge those. I had to own those. And then I had to go and say, hey, that was really shitty of me. And I just needed to let you know. And then it's, and what I do is I make living amends from then on, is that I don't do that again. Yep. And I'm nice and all those type of things. The other thing I just want to say a little bit off is that I've talked about this before. I've talked about it at meetings, but my wife and I we do projects, anybody homeowners, right? We do projects around the house. And sometimes our projects are individual projects and sometimes they're projects we do together. And any projects big projects, we try to do them together. Because I've learned over the years that if we both have an input into a project, and I'll just tell you 2 different projects we did. One, we did a refresh of our kitchen a little bit. My wife did, which my wife did all by herself because I was busy. My sister was sick, dying of cancer. I just had too much on my plate, and my wife wanted to do it, and she did it. And there are things about that project that I don't like. That I felt like, and I accept them. It's like they're not overly, but I felt like, there's things about it that she did a great job on. But there are a few things that I don't like about that project. And I always tell her, we do a project better when we do it together because we get some feedback. We also did a bathroom over, right? And both of us were involved with that. There's a ton of that bathroom that I don't like. There's a ton of it that I don't like. But you know something? It doesn't eat at me because we planned it, we did it, we talked about it. Those were the choices we made at the time. It's like, yep, if I had to do it again, I would not make those choices again. But they don't eat at me. If I did that alone and she had to look at that stuff, or she did it alone and I had to look at the stuff, there'd be resentment and there'd be blame and hey, you shouldn't have done this, you shouldn't have done that. So that's the other thing about that, right? Is I realized that anytime we're going to do anything like that, I'm like, hey, honey, let's do this together so we can avoid those pitfalls, right? And that's the same point. We can plan it, we can do the work, but we can't plan the outcome, and it may not be exactly what we like. So it's, there's a lot of tripwires and those type of things that you could be, that can trip you up and send you off in a different way that's not healthy and not helpful, especially for alcoholics, right? It's really, we don't want to be stewing in resentment or being pissed off. Not that I don't do that. I still do that way too often, but I need to try to eliminate that as much as possible.
I would make the case that you did do the kitchen together because you had to delegate, whether you thought or not, you had to delegate everything to your wife. Because you were doing something that was more important, caring for your sister. Yep. You couldn't do it together. So you had to delegate everything to her. And if you think it through that way, you can get to acceptance of there are going to be some things about this project that I may not be happy with or are going to bug the crap out of me afterwards because I wasn't involved. And I'm going to accept that because the project wouldn't get done if she just didn't do it. It had to be this way. And I think there's also something to be said, and this speaks to me because I'm not great with this, of it's not going to be perfect. And I need to learn for the next time. A lot of times it's like, I should have already learned this lesson. Yeah, therefore, right. It's already a failure. I'm a failure. Or I could look at it and say it is an incremental step. All right. She did the kitchen herself. She gets huge props because she put her nose to the grindstone. She planned this out herself. It's pretty awesome. I would have done this differently. I don't like this piece. I'm going to squirrel that away for next time. If she has to do it herself, here is an input I can give her in passing of think about this. Or if you do the bathroom together, it's like, God, we did it together and still there are things I don't like. But at least you have that buy-in of, I don't like it, but at least I had a hand in this. But then it is also, yeah, I would have done this differently, but you can't know all that. And that goes back to the topic of, plan the action, not the result. I can't cover every eventuality because I'm a human being.
Right. Absolutely. And one of the other thing I've learned as I've gotten older is I give myself a lot of grace these days. I really do. Like I give myself the grace to make mistakes, to be tired, to really go, something, yep, I should care about this, but I just don't. Like I don't have the emotional bandwidth to care about it. And that happens to me a lot. Like it does nowadays. Like people know I've been talking about, I've been caring for my wife for the better part of a year. And I even say that to them, like, I just don't care about some of this stuff anymore. I don't care about it. And it used to bother me that I wouldn't care. And the perfect thing is like, again, to go sidetrack, but like my yard work stuff, like I do it. Mm-hmm. But I don't care about it anymore. I don't even care to do it anymore. I think about it all the time about hiring people and all that. And it used to drive me nuts, and now it doesn't. It's like, I just don't care, And, I tell my wife, like we talk about some new plantings. I'm like, here's my qualifications for a plant. Do I need to prune it? Mm-hmm. Do I need to water it? Right? Do I need to take care of it? I don't want it. I want to be able to plant it sort of once it gets established. It doesn't mean I don't cut it down in the fall or do something, but I don't want to have to be constantly cutting and making something look pretty. It's not what I want to do at my time. Some people like that stuff. I don't like it. So I give myself the grace to go, sometimes I don't care about that. I don't care. My bushes don't look the best. And I'm able to, and that gives me some peace. It gives me some peace, and it gives me some emotional bandwidth to take on some other stuff. And in this day and age, I can have my wife do projects, right? I can say to her, and she can with me. She does it with me too. Like, hey, you do it, and we just live with the results, right? And I do it. Like, yep, you did your best, whatever, or whatever. Even if you didn't do your best, like I turned it over to you, you did what you wanted. There it is. I'm done. I don't need to be emotionally connected to it. And so there's a lot of things, but it is about, well, again, I'll say it for third or fourth time. It's all about managing those expectations.
Yeah.
Right. What do you think the outcome should be? And when you let go of those expectations, when you really can let go of those expectations, man, life becomes a lot easier. It becomes a lot simpler to be able to say, yep, we're going to do this, and we'll see how it turns out.
I like so this is, if you're hearing this of like, why are you guys talking about your personal lives with this? Because we use the program in all aspects of life, not just alcoholism. And these little things lead you to alcoholism. And you talked about prioritization. I'm not going to prioritize the lawn work anymore. I did that in my front yard. I went because I had all this help cleaning up the front yard and around the house. And the fact that I have this enormous backyard on a quarter lot and a well, I would love to have the perfect lawn.
Yeah.
And I'd love to be able to do that in the backyard, but I can put all my effort into the front yard where like a bag of 5,000 square foot fertilizer and herbicide, I can do that. If there are spot watering I need to do, I can do that. If I put that all and spend the money on the backyard, it's going to go to waste because I can't water back there and it's too big to manage. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to forget the backyard. I'll mow that. I'll do my best, but in the front yard, I can make that look really nice. And I have the bandwidth for that. And I realized, I'm like, why didn't I think about this 15 years ago? Well, I didn't think about it 15 years ago because I had to go through that level of growth. But I have learned it now. The trap here is, and this is the trap that I'm always worried about. The letting go is, well, I don't really have to put in the effort, or I feel like I'm putting in the effort, but my higher power is guiding me along. So, oh, well, And there is that fine line between absolute control and really lying to yourself about, are you really doing the work? Because I think the higher power aspect is not, I'm putting in, it's not, I need to control all aspects of this and it better end up that way. That's when you know you're putting in too much control. You're using your higher power if it's, I have this project, I'm going to plan this out to the best of my ability, and I'm putting a genuine effort in. And I understand that there might be something I'm missing. That is a way of saying my higher power will help me out, or my higher power there is to help me when it doesn't go exactly as I think. And it's what's going to keep me from losing my mind afterwards. And that's the trap I'm always worried about. But I just talked myself through. That's how you know you're not just being lazy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always reluctant to say, you know, I'm a little reluctant to say, oh, I'm just going to let my higher power take over this thing, right? Mm-hmm. Just not the way it works for me. Because I do believe that, you know, the way my higher power works, I have to do the work.
Yes.
But I do like the fact, and again, if you have a higher power, if you believe in God, whatever it works for you, I do believe in the fact that if you're like, well, the outcome's going to be the outcome because I'm not in control of that outcome. Again, if that works, right? I mean, again, you're giving that up. And the reason why we talk about this in our regular lives is because of the fact, and we talk about it all the time, because we're alcoholics, right? And it's like, I need to manage these type of things because of my alcoholism, right? My alcoholism is with me all the time. And so I need to manage these things so that I don't get too high and too low. One of the problems I had when I came into this program is I had huge expectations of other people. I did. Right? I had huge expectations of other people. And what that did was, and I still can to a certain extent, but much less. But what that did was it would put me on this roller coaster ride that I was either totally excited because things were going my way, or I was depressed because things were just shit, you know? And it was literally this up and down and up and down. And I was a mess. I mean it. I was a mess. Mm-hmm. And it was one of the first things I realized that I had to get off that ride. Like I had to figure that out. And it took a long time. Like I said, and I still struggle with it at times. I am still not perfect with it. But usually the highs aren't so high and the lows aren't so low. So I got this little bit of a more stable life. And that's because I've been able to give up some of this, you know, thinking that the outcome is all in my control. Again, when we talk about our program, you know, if we start thinking that the outcome's in our total control, then we're playing God. Right? We're playing God is what we're doing. And that doesn't mean we can't plan a project. We're not talking about that. We're not, you know, we can't plan a project. But a perfect example is you could be saving for a retirement, right? Yep. This is the perfect thing. You could be saving for a retirement. You could be doing everything right. And then as you get close to there, you can have a tragic or catastrophic event in your life. Mm-hmm. You can lose a job late in life. You can have medical bills if you don't have the right insurance. And that whole planning could be up in smoke because of events out of your control. Right. And that's the kind of stuff that I've gotten comfortable with. Like I really had like that big stuff. I've gotten comfortable with that. Like that kind of stuff. I realized like, oh, I don't have as much control over that as I think. Even though I've done a lot of planning and I've done a lot of investing, like I still don't have a lot of control over that. But again, doesn't mean I can't decide I'm going to go out and plant a garden, right? And then really, and then have an outcome and then do the best I can and do some research and do some planning like we talked about and maybe ask Claude like, hey, I want to plant this garden. Here's what I want to grow. What do I need? Right. and try to figure out how to make that project to give it the best success as possible, the most chance of success as possible. And then what we do, like everybody else, you got to tweak stuff as it goes. I get a little frustrated because sometimes I do think, oh, I did it. It should be done. I should never have to think about it again.
Yeah.
All right. And right. Which doesn't work. I planted, no. I had a small garden. I planted some stuff. I hated gardening. So I decided I was going to put some blueberry bushes in there. So I did. I just took them, and I'm not a big gardener. I just took them and I put some blueberry bushes in there. And I cannot get my soil where it needs to be, which is acidic for blueberries, to a place where my blueberry bushes will thrive. And I've tried tons of different stuff. I've tried the fertilizers. I've tried the everything. And I don't know why I can't get it. I mean that honestly. I don't know why that I can't change the makeup of this soil, but I just have not been able to do it. But I keep trying. Mm-hmm. Right. I keep trying, and I'm like, all right, what am I going to do this year with it? Like, how am I going to do it? I did pine needles. I did a bunch of,
pine needles doesn't work.
Yeah.
People think that.
Yeah.
I'll solve your issue right now. I'll try and solve your issue because this is a passion of mine.
I know it is.
People think pine needles are acidic, but once they drop, they go neutral. That's why.
Okay. Yeah. But I've tried all this stuff, right? And I have used some fertilizers. I tried a different fertilizer last year, and it warned you. It said, be careful with it, and it did. What happened was they never bloomed, right? Like I don't know what happened, right? But anyway, that's the side thing. So that's my point. But I'm not as frustrated with that, right? And my point is, because of this, I'm like, hey, I'm doing some work on it. I keep trying it. My next thing is like, I'm wondering if I should make this a raised garden project, right? Get it out of the ground and put it in their own separate soil. But anyway, this is a tangent that I'm on. But my point is, listen, I'm trying this, I'm planning it, and I guess this is my point. The outcome has not been what I wanted it to be, right? I've done planning, I've done effort, I've done all this, and I'm not totally frustrated by it. Yeah, that doesn't mean I won't hit a point where I'm not frustrated with it, but I'm not. And this has been going on, I don't know, it's probably the 4th year I've had them, maybe the 5th years that I had them. And I planted them for my grandchildren. They come up because they will bloom some, and I don't get a lot of blueberries, but they're small and they come up, and if there's blueberries on it, I'll let them go in there and pick them and eat them right off the bush, It's been fun. So it's always about expectations, about doing the work pre-hand, and letting the chips fall where they fall.
So this is an interesting moment because now I'm warmed up.
Yeah.
And we got to end the show. At a certain point, you got to end things. So I would love to hear from you. Going off topic is brought to you by Sober Not Mature, and that's for Bill. If you love this show, I'd like a couple things. Go into Apple or Spotify. Spotify, give it 5 stars or a thumbs up or whatever they do in Spotify. Apple, give it 5 stars. Write out a quick review. And it's a reminder, I got to go into Apple. I don't get them sent to me anymore. I want to see what are people writing, because it is helpful in getting feedback and allowing people to see the show. And I'd always love to hear from you. Haven't had an email in a while, but I know people are listening because I saw the downloads. Downloads are pretty good right now. We had some shows that have performed really, really well. Great. So I'd love to hear from you, Matt, at soberfriendspod.com. And I do listen. Mitzi, who contributes to the show on a monthly basis, is never shy about what Mitzi likes. And I like that. Sometimes I agree, sometimes I don't, but it gives me some thought. All right, Steve. Have an awesome day and week.
Yeah, you too. See you, everybody.
See you next week.